Boing. Yeah. So I don't have the awesome video intro. I should get that. You know how long it's been though? Like 6 or 7 years, and I still
Yeah,
don't have
but
a.
you don't need it. You know what I mean? You talk about authenticity here. You don't
Yeah. We
need
just.
like a big intro.
Yeah. We just pop in and we give now we like have a minute to chit chat while people
Yeah,
get in. But we were
yeah,
talking just a little bit behind the scenes, and
yeah.
because we did this a few weeks ago, and my I think it was my internet crapped out. Although yours is also suspect, so we don't know. But it was mine.
Oh, my
And
internet is
then
for shit. Yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, then there was like maybe another week and it didn't work out, and so yeah, so we're finally getting to chit chat, and then
Thanks,
and now now there's just the fact that I said that I'm nervous it's gonna jinx it, and I was like, is there like a curse like I'm not allowed to talk to Brian Christgau?
man. That it's like the Scottish play. You know, like in the theater
Yeah.
world. You can't say the name Macbeth, right?
Oh yeah.
And if you
Yeah. That.
discuss it, you have to say the Scottish play.
Yeah. 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 Because you'll. Yeah.
Jinx it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like shit will go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I am very superstitious. I'll be the first one to admit that. I'm a very superstitious person.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that when things are going too well, I'm never happy. I'm always just like waiting for the other shoe to drop, right?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for like that freight train that's waiting for me that has my name on it just to come flying around the next corner and just
Yeah.
flatten me.
That reminds me, that's kind of like a storytelling thing. In stories when it stuff is like really happy and you're
Hmm.
like, you start to get nervous because you're like,
Yes.
it's not going to be like this forever. Like some shit's going down. And
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, in very clumsy writing, you can tell, like, oh, that person's dead,
yeah,
right? Or that couple, that sweet couple. Oh, yeah, no, they're finished. Yeah.
yeah. I know, I didn't watch all of it, but people were talking about Walking Dead that way as far as like,
Oh,
it just was a cycle where sure they get to a place where everything's good and you just know, well, the show would end and it can't end, so they're gonna have to have some shit fuck it up. And
yeah.
it can be contrived and stupid, and by the fourth, fifth, sixth time they do that, you're just like, eh.
I look for me the George Romero zombie trilogy, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. The way I understand Star Wars fans is that they love Star Wars the way that I love those three movies, right?
Yeah.
So huge fan. The first season of The Walking Dead, brilliant. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, they fired Frank Darabont for doing such a great job in creating a hit, which happens sometimes in Hollywood. Like Ronnie Yu, right, who was like this Hong Kong director who did these like great, awesome wuxia films, which are like sword and sorcery and romance films, right? Came here to America. He had an idea for it, Snakes on a Plane, and it blew up and it became this big thing on the internet. And they were like, dude, everybody's psyched for it. You're fired.
Oh yeah.
And, right? Because now this is too big for you.
Yeah.
And just quick Frank Darabont story. At the New York Comic Con 11 years ago, that was like the year of The Walking Dead. I sold 400 copies of Six Gun Gorilla. We ran out of books on like day 2, which was
Wow.
crazy. But I have to admit, part of it was luck because when you walked in, first of all, I had like a really strategic spot where when you came in, you turned, you looked, you saw my giant like "fuck you" banner, right, with an
Yeah.
angry gorilla on it, and every other book was about zombies. Everybody else in Independence Alley just had a zombie book,
Oh yeah. So
and
that's
I
good for you, right? Because then you're the one who's not with the trend, kind of.
was the only one that didn't have a zombie book.
Yeah.
And I was looking at these fools, looking at each other, like, oh, you had the same idea. And it was tragic in a sense. I actually felt bad for them ultimately because I'm like, if you're going to make a comic, make sure that at least it comes from the heart. because at the end of the day, that might be the only thing you're left with. And I thought to myself, how sad. These people put a lot of work into making these comics, and probably even they don't like them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lesson. It would suck to learn it the hard way, but it's good to learn. Yeah, like because there's always that temptation to be like, what if I did sell out, and what would that look like? For me,
Exactly.
it would be like a furry book or like answering, which I think I am gonna do it at least once. And yeah, maybe it'll fail, and I'll be like, damn it, I shouldn't have wasted my time on that furry
Well, I
book.
mean,
But
you kind of have done a little anthropomorphic stuff with Cerberus,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So then the next step would be yeah, like the Goofy style or whatever, animals that talk in the
Yeah,
most
yeah, yeah.
human.
And like make it like Omaha the Cat Dancer or something
Yeah,
like that. Like start
yeah, or like Fritz the cat or
or
whatever.
Fritz the
I mean, there
Cat.
is like a big heritage of it or a tradition, but
Hmm. Well, it's just funny because now anything with anthropomorphics in it is a furry book or a furry bait,
yeah,
which I find really funny. And
and I
some
think,
people,
or I feel like
go
there
ahead.
is like a big audience for it. That's what I'm curious about, but maybe there's not. I don't know.
Well, I think there's a huge audience, like a niche audience for that sort of a thing. The thing is, it's just like I think you're like me. I think most of us that have been in this scene for a while, that are playing the long game, we want to make the books that we want to read, right?
Yeah,
We want to tell the stories that are dying to be told, that are clawing their way out of us. It's like a teacher of mine, an instructor I had at a university, who I really admired. Her fiction, which I read, was terrible, just boring, but she was an incredible teacher. And I asked her, like, well, I've got all these ideas. Which ones do I choose? And she said, the ones that haunt you.
oh yeah,
And so I found that really useful. In other words, what are the stories that you tell? The ones that just won't go away, the ones that you
yeah,
just keep coming back to.
yeah. That's a good test. Is if it like even for they say if you're going to get a tattoo, it's like wait 6 months. If you still want that tattoo, then you can get it. And like
Yeah, my
it
friend
could be
said
that
two
way with writing.
years. My
Two
friends,
years.
because all my friends have tattoos and piercings and shit. I'm the only one that doesn't have
Yeah.
any tattoos or piercings because I never had a design that I wanted like after like a year or two.
Yeah. 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 And like, yeah, creativity or writing ideas are like that. You'll have the one sticking around, but it can kind of be like the meme too. You know, the meme where it's the guy looking at the girl, but he's with the girl. And she's jealous
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
whatever. And
Yes.
yeah, looking over his shoulder. That's like your new idea is the thing you're looking over your shoulder. And then the girl's like your stack of ideas that you're supposed to be writing or whatever.
Well, I'm curious. Like one of the things that I like to do is I have a whole bunch of projects lined up, a whole bunch of books that I want to do, and sometimes if I'm oh shit,
Yeah, I lost you. Hold, we'll give it a second here.
projects I
10
want to
people
do.
watching. I think my internet is still okay. You're back. You're back. That's good.
All right,
I think we're good. As long as it's not my internet,
all right.
we aren't cursed.
But I'm wondering about about your, because of course it's always cool to figure out what other people's process is. Do you have like a whole bunch of projects that you want to do? That like what I do is I will periodically, if I'm feeling kind of stuck on something, I'll go and work on that other thing,
Yeah.
and then
I
I
have like yeah, I have like a notebook and sometimes I'll compulsively like write the list. So if it's like 5 scripts that I want to do
yeah,
and maybe some short story ideas, I'll kind of write them out. So sometimes I'll have them almost memorized, and it's only like 5 usually. Or there have
yeah.
been points where it would get longer, but they will drop off, like tattoos or whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
yeah,
time sort of weeds out the weaklings,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and I've been usually I'll work on one thing at a time, but I have been jumping back and forth a little bit, like you're saying. But yeah, yeah. And what about you? Or maybe you might have frozen again. Hey, chat, can you see? Am I not frozen? And then Brian is frozen.
I
I'm
call
trying
it
to.
police. I call it
You're
police.
back. You're back.
Okay. I call it police squatting. People don't know what I'm referring to because they're familiar with like the Naked Gun movies, but they're not familiar with the TV show it's based on. How it would always end, like how cop shows would end with a freeze frame, but instead of freeze framing, everybody would just
Yeah.
stand still, and then there'd be like some other shit going on in the background, like a chimp tearing the place apart or something, and they're all.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. It's like the Wonder Years. They freeze frame and it'd be like, it was never like those old days before, and I would never see those characters again. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
voiceover.
yeah. So,
Oh, but
like,
I was asking you about your process then too. So do you like keep like multiple notebooks, or what do you do?
oh God, I've got file folders. I've got, I'm very organized when it comes to my projects, and so I have like file folders, and I have story treatments. I've got partial scripts. Sometimes I'll write an entire scene that I may end up using or just throwing away. One of the things I always like to do is I always like to make sure that I have my ending first. So I have a lot of things that have endings,
Yeah.
right? But that's all I have is just the ending. But yeah, it's over 30 years I've piled up a lot of that stuff. But in terms of like active projects, like things that are on my like immediate to-do list, there's only about five, I
Yeah.
would say. But I look forward to hopefully being able to get to those. And then of course,
Yeah.
then there's the stuff that people hire me to write for them, or edit, which is interesting because it's like you have people that are inviting you to play in their sandbox, so you want to be respectful, and you don't want to be a territorial pisser and turn their project into your project. You want to basically be invisible if you can.
Yeah, that's cool. Is that like a process you got to familiarize yourself with their sandbox? And how do you do
Yeah.
that? Do you read their other stuff, or you have a meeting with them, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. And then of course, if you know the artist, like if I'm writing a script for like for Preston, my boy Preston Acevedo, who's ready to blow up very, very big. He's working on a ton of projects and IPs and stuff that he can't talk about right now.
Yeah. I know they dropped the Legacy Soul Reaver thing, right?
Yes,
That was awesome. Yeah.
yes, yes. The Legacy
You
of
know,
Kane.
yeah, he's bringing that like early 90s you know, painterly comics. He's bringing it back. So,
Oh God, yeah.
like
Oh God, yeah.
yeah.
And so if
Um
I'm writing a script for him, of course you can't help but put some of yourself in there, right? And put some of your own stuff in there. But at the same time, you have to consider like I'm writing it for Preston, so I want to give him a lot of stuff that he's going to have a lot of fun drawing, right? And the operative word with Preston is gnarly.
yeah.
So I just try and put as much gnarly stuff in there, or give him an opportunity also to just expand, because that's one of the things he likes to do. Is Well, I mean, I always write full script style, but when I give it to the artist, I tell them treat it Marvel style,
Yeah.
because you have to embrace the collaborative nature of the medium. It's and of course follow the ultimate rule, which is coolest idea wins.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. Yeah, so by the way, everyone watching Six Gun Gorilla, two trade paperbacks on Fund My Comic.
Word.
It's over five figures, the book, because it's been on Indiegogo as well.
And
But
Kickstarter.
so and Kickstarter, and this is like, yeah, the second opportunity or whatever. If anyone who
Yeah.
missed it can grab it. But I was gonna ask you too, because it's been up for a year. So
Yeah.
what your next thing might be like coming up? Like what do you have coming up next?
Oh, well, God. There's Hell Knight coming up, which I wrote for Preston. Uh, there's actually and then of course I've got Blood Moon Stomp that's going to be in brick and mortar bookstores in 2026, which I wrote for Adam Lawson. He came to me and said, like, could you write me? Because I'd written this script about Mexican wrestlers, luchadors fighting monsters. Because I'm a huge fan of Mexican horror wrestling movies. I don't know if you're familiar with the genre, but that is a thing.
Okay.
And so I wrote that. I sent that script to Adam, and he loved it. But he was like, "Yeah, there's no way we can do this because you're not Mexican." And
Which is hilarious, but that's
well, I mean,
wise in a way. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, it's like it's like everybody has to stay in their lane now, right?
Yeah.
And but he was like, "But would you be up for writing like a cross between The Wrestler and The Shining?" And I was like, yes. So that's going to be like a 80+ page graphic novel that's illustrated by Maxi Diallo, who's just phenomenal.
Yeah, who works with Adam Lawson a lot, right?
Yeah. I actually championed him on that project because, not that Adam doesn't like Maxi's stuff, but he was looking for just a different artist. I was like, no, it's got to be Maxi. It's got to be Maxi. It's got to be Maxi. And now
he would be able to do that good the way you just. I mean, even that pitch, he would fit well with it. The Shining meets The Wrestler.
Yep. Yeah. No, he like I've got the entire book, like all of the pencils and inks, and it just looks phenomenal. Yeah. So, looking forward to that.
So you have a little bit of the situation, like this stuff isn't. It's not like nobody knows about it, but it's not popping off because it's not released. But once it releases, your name's all of a sudden, because people haven't seen you like anything released from you in over a year. All of a sudden it's going to be 2-3 kind of big profile things. That'll be cool.
Yeah, a bunch of things like all at once, but my first priority, of course, is just getting this book finished and fulfilled. And right now, all the pages have been colored, and there's just, I think, I'm waiting for 8 pages to come back from the letterer, and then we're good. And
so you're really close.
Really close. And so I'm hoping that we're going to fulfill I was hoping to say July. Now I'm hoping August, like late August maybe, or September. But that's the thing. It's like I hate to put an actual date on it, because then I feel like I'm jinxing myself and like something's going to go wrong. But like I said, it's all finished. And then there's the backup story by that Jason Orpheus, the guy who does Octopus Cowboy. I hired him to illustrate a backup story, because I don't know about you, but when I get a book and it's late, I like tchotchkes, prints and bookmarks, bottle openers, buttons, all that crap. That's fine. But what I really like is a thicker book. And so there's going to be a backup story, a 13-page backup story, introducing the first character from the expanded Six-Gun Gorilla universe, as I call it, a character called the Dandy. Cool. And Jason just knocked the hell out of that. Oh yeah, and then of course, people have just been so nice with the reviews.
Oh yeah, we're on that here. That's cool. Yeah, even especially the Chuck Dixon one really stands out. That's great.
I'm so great. I'm telling you, I thought some people would like this book. I didn't expect everybody to love it. And everybody who reads it loves it. And that's not me being braggadocious. Like, that's just how it turned out.
Yeah.
And I was just writing the book that I wanted to read. And I thought some people are going to get it, some people aren't going to get it. But I got one review that was positive, but sort of lukewarm, from Comic Book News, right? CBN, I think it's called, right? and they wouldn't review my book until I sent them all the reviews. And then finally they were like, okay, now we'll look at it. And then they looked at it, and the critics said, well, it's really good, but it's not that great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. That's good if you got that going on. Yeah, it seems like it's like you can send a script kind of to a random guy, or not random, but like in the case of Adam Lawson,
Yeah.
and kind of get a response and open a conversation because they'll recognize your talent. So however, I don't know if you've always been a great writer, but seems like you definitely got that going on. I know you have like the encyclopedic mind for specifically for horror movies, but for other stuff
Yeah.
too. I'm sure that like you can just tell you're a smart guy. I'm sure that helps. The
Well,
skills.
look, I'm just a guy muddling through life the best that he can. And I would hope that I'm at least a competent writer because I've been at it for like 30 years, right? So you hope that at least you can be competent. And I would say I've only been happy with my work in the last 10 years or so.
Cool. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
kind of relate to that. There's like that phase when you're writing as you're getting better, you're just not really satisfied. And in hindsight,
Yeah.
that's sort of a good thing. It means you're getting better. But
Yeah, well, I mean, you hope that you improve, you listen to people's responses. For me, it's just like with Six Gun, I just put it out there. I wasn't sure if people were going to click with it or not, but they like really clicked with it. So yeah, couldn't be more grateful.
when was the first Six Gun released then? Did you say 2011?
Yes, I think it was. No, wait,
And was
it
that just a
was.
single issue or a double, or was that a trade? Or...
I think I had two issues. I think I had the first two issues at that point. This was about what, 11 years ago? No, wait, no. Yeah, I think it was 2011.
Okay. And
Wow,
yeah,
it's
that's
been that
that's
freaking
what, like
long.
13, 14 years ago. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. If I
That
can get,
era is funny. You mentioned it was like zombie fever, and it was.
yeah,
And I don't know. It was like right before SJW takeover kind of
yeah, it
started in
was. It was.
2012, 2014.
Yeah,
But so that's when shit was like still pretty good. Like right before the fall or whatever.
right before the fall, right before Mordred came striding into Camelot and
Yeah.
just fucked
And
everything up.
you know what's kind of a funny like bummer in a way, I guess, but just the way it times out. That was like right when I was getting good enough to maybe get some comic work. Was
Yeah,
literally just right when all that stuff hit, where it's the identity politics and stuff. And so, and at the as it was time it was happening, we didn't know what exactly was going on. So you're kind of paranoid, and
yeah.
you're like, why aren't people emailing me back? Like, what's going on? Like, I can't even get someone to look at my art and whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so then whatever. So we go 10 years just doing crowdfunding. And
Yeah, I
now
mean,
things seem to be coming back a little bit. We'll see. But
it's strange because a lot of us with our crowdfunding campaigns are really struggling, and a lot of the newer people, especially, are really struggling. People that don't have an established audience. I mean, this is my seventh campaign, eighth campaign, I want to say, right? And I've fulfilled on all of them. But then you have people that are just so I have kind of like a built-in fan base, but people that are just completely new. It's not like it was a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, where we could come in and get eyes on our books. The economy, of course, is messed up. Even the big boys are struggling to make what they used to. But I feel oddly positive, oddly optimistic about the future of comics because I think that sometimes everything needs to be destroyed before it can come back.
yeah,
And certainly everything has been destroyed. I was looking forward to, the third issue of Vatican City. Couldn't get it because my LCS closed down.
oh yeah,
And this was an LCS that actually sold comic books. Not
yeah,
like the other LCSs in like Rockland County, which is where I'm originally from, we had about four or I think four LCSs at one point, and one of them sold American comics, and it was literally a dirty little corner all the way in the back of the store,
Yeah.
like a corner shelf, right, with like a bunch of comics just completely haphazardly, messily arranged.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that manga is so huge, right? That Japanese comics are so huge, and you see it everywhere. You can't turn your head when you leave the house without seeing it, practically, right? A sticker or something. Uh, you know, are those fans going to ever get into American comics? No. The majority of them, no. They want the Japanese comics because they're Japanese. But I think there are some of them who are going to fall in love with the medium. And they're going to start wondering, well, what are American comics like? What are
Yeah.
French comics like? I keep thinking that, instead of trying to imitate the Japanese, we should be following the French model.
Like bande dessinée albums kind of thing. Or...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, I don't know how familiar you are with French comics, but they're, they don't have any deadlines for the artists, right? It's done when it's done. And so it's not like you get any pages where you can tell the artist is sort of rushing through them to get to like the big money shot where they're going to really blow their load and really put all their energy and time into. Instead, every page is like that.
Oh, you froze again. You'll probably be back in a few seconds.
Froze.
Oh, you're back. You're back. You what's it called? You police squatted. Oh, you police squatted again. You'll be back in a second.
Okay.
But I was gonna say, I agree that it's kind of numbers are down, but oddly emotions are high or whatever, like feeling kind of optimistic. And I don't know. It's like I was thinking it kind of feels like an indie golden age is coming, or if it's not even here already. Partly, I think one aspect of it is like there is some pretty darn good books in the indie space,
Oh,
and
incredible.
it has taken like some years for that to develop. And it's almost like ideally you'd have a situation where indie books are better than the mainstream, which is not exactly
God.
true, but it feels like it could be true at some point, or they could like compete a little bit. Yeah.
There's one book. I just want to give this as an example called Robert, right? And it didn't do very well. And it is like a science fiction, like punk rock spaghetti western with robots in it. And it's awesome. And the art is spectacular. Like Preston and I are both huge fans of this guy. And like nobody else has read that book. And it's better than anything from the mainstream. At least I mean, not that I've picked up a a Marvel or a DC comic recently, right? Well, I did actually pick up their Werewolf by Night, but only read like 2 issues. The thing about the censorship, the thing about having to have everything have a very woke message, I don't think that that's going to go away anytime soon, because the same people are still there, right? And what are they going to do now that like woke is officially over? They're going to bunker, and they're going to double down, and that's going to leave a space for creators who are actually passionate about storytelling. When they're like, oh, but comics have always been political. Like, yeah, but they often had political subtexts. You guys have taken the subtext and you've made it the text. You've taken the horse and you've put it in front of the cart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you could read a political message into Six Gun Gorilla. You could, right? Is it there? I don't know. Right? But one thing's for sure, you're not going to get clobbered over the head, and you're not going to get a freaking lecture. People don't buy comics to be lectured on their privilege.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. But it's like they came in once the Avengers movie came out. That's what fucked everything all up. The Avengers movie came out, and they were like, "We need to take this over
Oh
because
yeah.
then it'll work its way. Our politics will work its way into the movies, which it has, right? And the TV shows. Uh, and it's just going to be interesting how now that woke is over, there's still going to be that bleed over because it could takes like 3 years to make a movie or a comic book or a TV series. Like Ironheart just came out, and I think people say it's like they're like, oh, it's so 2022 or so 2023, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're
And
right. That one, well, yeah, because there's like a delay, I guess, in the production, and even in the comics it's based on is like the height of that stuff. And I think I didn't watch any videos, but I see the headlines and they're saying like people are just now noticing, like everyone was saying it about the comics, like, hey, Riri Williams is written as a villain, and it's kind of
yeah,
hilarious because they don't even know it. And now people are, it's like normies are saying it, which is kind of funny, but
well, that's
yeah.
because these particular writers, they don't believe in heroes. And so when they write them, they end up writing these characters that are really sociopaths, right?
Yeah.
It's like if they had superpowers, what would they use them for? They would use them to hurt people that they don't like,
Yeah.
right? Which would be supervillains.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Because, Miss, or yeah, Miss Marvel or whatever. Not Miss Marvel. Who's the blonde one? Carol Danvers or
Yeah,
whatever.
well, with the big hands, with the giant hands, that's the new Ms. Marvel because Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel got like upgraded to Captain Marvel for the movie.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. But yeah, they write her the same way. She is just like a bully who beats up people that
Yeah,
she doesn't like.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just really interested in what future historians are going to think about this era that we're just hopefully coming out of, right? Like the last 10 years of comics are like, what are they going to call it? What are they going to call this age? What are they going to be saying about it? Because, for the past 10 years, we've been getting comics that were dated the day they came out.
Yeah. 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 I know it's not going to age well. And then you,
So,
in a weird way, to like benefit us a little bit, or like we'll be proven right in hindsight, or we could get some extra eyes eventually, people looking back and like, oh, there was good stuff in the indies during that period and stuff like that.
right. And, as the Macho Man Randy Savage, a great American poet, once said, the cream always rises to the top. It's kind of like with horror movies. My friend Chris and I, we always are talking about like there's horror is so huge right now that there's so many horror movies being made from all around the world that we think that we're only going to know like what's the good stuff to watch maybe 10 or 15 years from now.
Yeah.
That eventually the stuff that's really good, you
Yeah.
know,
You're right. Yeah, because even movies, it's like people are only discovering, and it'll be a really good movie, and it kind of hasn't been discovered yet. Like Red Letter Media will randomly point out a good movie, and they'll be like, "Yeah, this
yes,
one has like 100 views on some obscure streaming service," you
yep.
know. And but yeah, That's what I want. By the way, we got like 15 minutes. I have to leave a little early tonight
That's
because
all
I
good,
want to go
brother.
stream.
I
But
appreciate you having me on, man.
yeah, I know, and it's good chatting with you and catching up. You know, it's funny. I think we might chat once a year or something, but it's good to even at least do that because I like staying in touch because you're a
Most definitely.
talented,
And
smart
once I
guy.
start streaming again, you got to come on to like pimp whatever your current thing.
Definitely. My next one's Hotel Story in early August. Hotel
Ah,
Story 2 launches.
excellent.
Yeah, but so you know a ton about horror movies, and I kind of like that too. You like I'm nowhere near your level, but I just enjoy that. And I want one thing is like, have you ever thought about? I guess for Adam, you wrote a horror comic. Do you dabble much in horror writing, or do you mostly just watch that and then write
Oh
less about it?
God, if I had my druthers, I would write nothing but horror.
Yeah,
But I think that we, as writers, sometimes don't get to do the stuff that we want to do, that somehow things work out differently. Woody Allen said that when he started out writing, he wanted to be a serious writer, but everything he wrote would just descend into satire.
Yeah.
And for me, and this was not my intention at all, my thing seems to be that I like to take a really silly premise and then tell a serious story with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so of course I'm nervous about Blood Moon Stomp because like I'm the horror guy, and so I'm like, oh man, like did I write a good horror comic? I hope so. And the thing about knowing a lot about horror, it's not something you aspire to. It just happens to you. I was a monster kid. I grew up with my monster magazines, my Aurora monster model kits, Famous Monsters, Fangoria, Starlog, all that stuff. And so ultimately all that information fills up your memory banks and pushes everything else that's useful out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I try to make myself useful. Like if I do, when I was doing the horror movie streams, I always try to pick a movie that is something that people have been sleeping on, right? So I won't do like Nightmare on Elm Street. I'll do something, that's that I think is like Living Dead Girl, something that's kind of obscure, but that is, worthy of attention.
Yeah.
I try to make myself useful, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. To apply the knowledge. Yeah. And like one thing I like about horror movies, a lot of times they're lower budget.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of creativity that comes with that. And like even the writing aspect.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. So I like studying that when it comes up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, horror has always been the ideal genre for independent film because the genre is the star. You don't need a movie star, right? If anything, if you put a movie star in your horror movie, well, you're like, oh, well, gee, they're not getting killed off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime
like
soon.
Yeah.
Right? They're not getting an axe in the face. They're not going to get gobbled up by the monster in the first reel.
Yeah.
Unless of course you're playing with audience expectations like Hitchcock did with Psycho, or Horror Hotel. That was actually the first movie that kind of kill its protagonist off in the first reel.
Yeah. But all those tricks that they do are interesting, and they work well in comics too.
Oh, for sure, and it's like they don't have the money, it forces them to be more creative. And also with low budget films, you kind of grade on a curve a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You find yourself more forgiving, but they have a charm and a personality to them. They feel like they were made by hand.
Yeah.
As opposed to like rolled off of an assembly line, which you get with like 99.9% of like Hollywood movies these days.
By the way, Blade Runner says, who is this? This is Brian Christgau. He's been around a long time. His book is Six Gun Gorilla, and it's on Fund My Comic. If there's any mods that are in the chat, feel free to post the link, but you might have to just Google it or whatever, but it's out there.
Yeah.
I recommend you seek it out, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Thanks, brother.
What Brian has to say.
Thanks. And there's tiers for everybody. Oh, and also I should mention that if you go to the top of the page, you can click on a link and download the entire first issue for free as a PDF. That's my version of like at conventions. I'll put out what I call flip through books. That is to say, I'll have copies of my books out on my table so people can just pick them up and flip through it and kick the tires and see if this is something that they want to spend their money on.
Yeah, cool. That's a good idea. So people should do that. I do that too for Earthbound. You can get the first volume for free. So I have to do, I actually don't always advertise it, so be able to do a little digging. But I'll get, it's on Gumroad, I think. So I'll get like an email once every few months that someone downloaded it. I'm like, okay, get some readers out there.
Oh, and I should mention that this has the volume 2. Which is called The Great Silence, because I have to name every issue after a spaghetti western title, and oddly enough, I find ones that fit perfectly every single time for that particular issue. The cover is by John Dillard, and I'm not really big on variant covers. So what I do is I do campaign exclusive variant covers. So you can get the John Dillard cover for this one. And there's a floppy tier for people that prefer floppies, and something for everybody. Yeah, whether you're new or you're a returning fan.
Yeah, cool. Um, I'm trying to make Paulus Arts a mod. Do you guys know how to even do that?
What up, Paulus? Yeah, know what you have to do? I found you have to actually go into YouTube to do it. You can't
Yeah,
do it, which is, I don't know. You can't do it. Well, actually, I guess it makes sense since since you're using like third party software with StreamYards or whatever. I don't know, but
it's just saying I can report him or block him. Sorry, Paulus.
report his ass.
I'm like, where's the third option? I want the positive option. I want to mod, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's freaky, but yeah. One thing I have to say, if anybody that's interested in starting a comic book, don't make your first comic a 10-issue mega epic series.
Yeah, because that's been 10 years. And it does take that long. I mean,
It
even with
does.
because other things come up. It's like that with me for Earthbound too. Like
Yep.
I finished the first arc, but then I mean, I'll kind of want to finish the whole Earthbound story. Yeah, and it's going to be like 10 years or more.
Right, right,
By the
right.
way, we've got Infinite. Infinite's been a great
Oh,
supporter. He has his own book coming out in a year or so too. He's
thank
a
you,
good
sir.
guy.
Thank you.
Just back both. Thanks, Infinite. We call
Greatly,
that
greatly appreciated.
we were calling if you come on my show and get some backers, we were calling it the Narwhal Nuge, but
I came up with the term the Bancroft bump. I'll never allow
oh
him
yeah, see
to
that's
forget
great.
that the Bancroft bump. The
But yeah,
narwhal
but
nooch.
we're now we're trying to like make it a pair thing, so the pair something and the pair push, which does
Oh
it's
yeah,
not quite as
that's a
cool.
little trickier. Well, I mean, look,
Yeah,
I'm glad that you can use your real name now, but you'll always be Narwhal to us.
yeah. And you see, these streams are rad for discovering new authors. I know it's kind of fun because Brian's been around since the beginning, but yeah, it's funny. Like you just don't know who's out there. I mean, there's actually like hundreds of creators, literally. I don't know.
Yes,
Um,
and a lot of them have disappeared from the scene.
yeah, yeah, and so just surviving, and everyone, and just as time goes on, everyone's getting better. That's what I'm excited about. I just feel like we're
That
starting to make pretty good books.
that's the great joy of being in this scene, has been watching people leveling up.
Yeah,
I've watched people getting better and better and better, and it's so exciting. And that's why, it's great for people to get in on the ground level. And, it's kind of like, you look at like the early Frank Miller Daredevil issues and reading his Daredevil run, it's like you see him turning into Frank Miller as you're going from issue to issue, right? You're
yeah,
seeing him refining his style, getting better and better and better, and becoming like the Frank Miller that we know. And we get to see that through our little indie comic scene. I know that Preston certainly has quadrupled his powers in like the last couple of years. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah, it's crazy because it was his stuff was so cool back then, but you see it now, and it does have that feeling now that it could make a splash, to anyone that you show it to, like uh whoever, freaking Rob Liefeld could see it and be like,
And
damn, this
hell
is
yeah to
really
what
cool.
Citizen Ronan said.
Yeah, 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 totally. So we'll do a little kind of mini wrap up here. This is a kind of quick-ish stream, everyone, but I want to make sure everyone just knows about Brian's existence and his book.
that,
And
that I'm here, that I have a
yeah,
comic. Yo, over here.
for people who missed it earlier, there was some good stuff that you kind of announced. Is like next year you're gonna have like at least two high-profile projects that are like uh coming out that with
Yes.
collaborations with really good artists, really good publishers, is going to brick and mortar stores because now Diamond's out, so I don't even know what's going on with distribution. But I
Yeah.
guess they have alternates for distribution, but the way it really screwed people is they went bankrupt while still owing multiple companies lots of money, so then they can't
Oh,
pay out. Whatever.
well, the whole Diamond situation, look, we're all waiting for the landscape to level out and settle. It's like there's been an earthquake and there's still tremors, and we're just waiting to see what the landscape's going to look like once everything settles. And I just have an oddly positive feeling about it. Although, at the same time, I'm a bit of an ingrate. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to blow up in 2026? 2026?
Yeah.
I want to blow up now.
Yeah, and I mean, if you count since 2011, yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's like I do think that sometimes I'm like, why can't there just be like a job in the comic industry to like look for talented people and then help give them work? And I feel like they
Yes.
used to do that, I think, and they quit doing that because it got politicized and
Yes.
hijacked or whatever.
Right,
And
right,
now it's
right.
just like, what?
They're getting their writers off of Twitter and their artists off of Tumblr.
Yeah, yeah.
that's where they get their talent.
Yeah, Moromi's the one mod. I seem to have lost the ability to make mods, so that means Moromi, his modular skills are extra special. Jack Stafford, I would have made you mod, sorry, but I don't even know how to. Paulus, sorry.
But yeah,
it says I can ban you, I can put you in timeout, I can delete you, but I cannot make you a mod. On my own channel, I can't even make mods. What does that say about me?
That's messed up. That's messed up. That's not. That's just not cool.
But yeah, so everyone, yeah, thanks for being here for the chat, Brian. Thanks for joining me. We'll chat again.
Me, brother.
We can do, yeah, like when you start streaming, I'll come on, and I like maybe doing like a roundtable writers thing. I like doing those randomly once in a while.
Oh, I would love to join in on one of those for sure.
Like that. Cool. But yeah, good.
Hit me up and let me know, brother.
Cool. Yeah, let's just be in touch and stuff, and we can hi a little bit behind the scenes too. But
yeah.
But so hang on for just a second. But I'm gonna click the button. But yeah, Paulus is like, I guess I'll take a timeout then.
Oh, so we're peacing out. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.